Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle, covers the University of Houston, does more than that, but that's pretty good in itself. Joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Joseph, I don't know if you saw the article on theathletic.com, and Max Olson, who joins us in the next segment, that some sources telling him that some of the teams in the clubhouse, leaders in the clubhouse, the four, and one of them could be Houston. Has that gotten any chatter down at the University of Houston, or those who you know?
Well, if silence is an indicator, this is something that they're familiar with. Let's just rewind this to 5 years ago when the Big 12 did the last expansion talk, and Houston, among others, was the school that was getting some mention. I think there's definitely something to it, and that's not to say that it's imminent, but from what I've heard. They certainly, they have a reason to feel that way because, they feel like they were close the last time and in terms of being selected, and it wouldn't be a surprise if Houston again was, among those top schools, if the Big 12 does decide to keep in business, I guess, as they put it yesterday, or at least how I read that release, Houston would be a school that they'd look at.
Do you think Tillman Fertitta will get involved as he did the last time around?
Tillman's always got his hand in something, especially when it comes to Houston. This is a little different from last time. He's got a few other things that are on his plate that he didn't have. But as his role as the chairman of the Board of Regents, there's things that he'll have to factor in, but. If you're asking from like a personal standpoint, like he did that one time where he was really pushing it, this is something that he's wanted, and he thought that Houston deserved to be in a Power 5 conference. So I would certainly think that any decisions or any pending arrangements or something would definitely have his stamp of approval on it.
Joseph, let's get into the University of Houston when it comes. They have the stadium. Obviously, it seems like when you hear people talk about Houston, you hear this commuter school. Hasn't that changed a little bit? Hasn't the atmosphere on campus, has it changed to where more and more it's a college campus and not just a school in the middle of a big city? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it has. And, I think more so it's a pro town has sort of bypassed the commuter school image. But when you go on campus, I believe up until like maybe a year or two ago, they had as many beds on campus per student that second most behind only A&M here in the state of Texas. So it's certainly grown out of that reputation or just what people thought of it being a commuter school. And then you look at the other things that they've done. Within a 5-year period, at the earlier part of the decade, they had invested over $250 million in facility upgrades, whether it's the Fertitta Center for basketball, the football stadium, and all the other sports. So they've certainly, because of that last round of talk, they sort of put their ducks in and got everything lined up for days like this summer or right now that we're dealing with, so that if the opportunity came, they had everything ready.
Is there a realistic drawback that they would have to joining the Big 12? I mean, for the Big 12 to not add them?
I can't at this point. I think the drawback is one that's leaving. I think a lot of what has happened to Houston over the years, the University of Texas has had a huge say in it, and whether it's scheduling, not playing each other, just all those things, and now with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, I don't think there's as many roadblocks, if any, to getting in. It's about survival. You look at the options, and if you're the other Big 12 schools, there aren't many. The Pac-12's off the table. You look at the ACC, that's not going to happen. So it's either do what they said they're going to do and survive and add who they think are great options, or they're going to have to jump ship to the American where Houston is. So in terms of stature, money, that kind of stuff, I think Houston would be crazy not to look at the option of switching leagues, and it wouldn't be a bad one because I was looking at the divisions and how it could break down with the remaining schools, and it certainly would be much more attractive than the league they're in right now.
So, Joseph, nice timing with that first opponent, huh? With all this swirling around, get Texas Tech, Dana versus, the Red Raiders. What's kind of the buzz as far as that game goes? And, obviously the little bit of the Big 12 realignment subplot that goes along with it.
So is Texas Tech playing to get into the American, or is Houston playing to get into the Big 12?
Right, yeah.
You are about to blow up.
It's real.
Yeah.
What's that?
No, go. You're about to blow up our chat room that's got people fighting back and forth about Houston attendance, commuter school, on campus. They're great fans, all of them are. But yeah, you just fired it.
It's also a good thing for Joseph.
I just bring the match. You guys already had all the gas stuff ready to go. But no, when you look at this weekend, it's sort of a game of people being familiar with one another. You look at Dana Holgorsen and his ties to Texas Tech, and Sonny Cumbie's now at TCU. Dana's former defensive coordinator is at Texas Tech. It's just down the line. But the interesting thing is for two programs that have had their branches of the air raid offense. That's something we may not see as much. Dana has admittedly gone to more of the running attack. You wonder what Sonny's going to do because, as Dana said this morning, he's seen where Sonny at times, whether that was a Gary Patterson influence, they did more running. Does he go to Lubbock now and open it back up to what they're accustomed to? You've got a new quarterback. There's so many ties that you could go down to, and Dana even joked that, hey, there aren't many secrets, and the ones that I have, I'd like to keep in my back pocket. So that's why he kind of played around this weekend with a depth chart that was released that was really worthless once the press conference started because he said it wasn't accurate, and they try to keep a few things under wraps. So a lot of difference in terms of the schools and where they're at right now. But Matt Wells and Dana Holgorsen are both in the year 3. They're both looking to start off strong because both of them need a win. I think that's one of the biggest common denominators.
Well, that's perfect, Tommy. You said that because I was curious. You see various websites or tweets or whatever talking about coaches on the hot seat, and I do see Holgorsen mentioned quite a bit. I mean, I realize he's well under 500 at this point, but how hot would you say that is? I mean, what is that feeling around Holgorsen entering this season?
Well, when you're making $4 million a year, it gets hotter by the minute, and you're right. He's 7-13 going into year 3. And now, granted, the first year you're always going to get that year. He was dealing with some roster mismanagement from the previous staff, and he was having to get his players in place. And then last year was just the COVID year, where I don't think very many schools had it rougher than Houston. So year 3, they're right now. Knock on wood, there's no excuses. They're everything is, as he put it, it's a go. They won't have any injuries. This is the deepest team that he's had. COVID for their sake is under control. So you go into it, you have a schedule that after Saturday sets up where if you don't win 9 or 10 games, it's a disappointment. So he's got everything in front of him. If they don't have a good year, I still don't think he gets fired. If they were to go 7-5 or 6-6, but I'll tell you, as they put it, they fire coaches who go 7-5. That's what the school president said years ago. But they're gonna have to have a big turnaround this year because if not, it is going to get a little bit warmer in that chair.
Yeah, I would think because of the TV revenue still being low compared to Power Fives, and you're paying somebody $4 million, you got to have return on that. You got to have more than perhaps what they feel like they're getting. Hey, Joseph, thank you, man. Appreciate your time. We'll be in touch.
Thank you for having me.
Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle, covers the University of Houston, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio.
I mean, he's going to be on the show regardless because we talk to Joseph every once in a while. But, yeah, I can safely say he'll probably be on the show a few times moving forward based on our main point of discussion.
I'm glad for his sake, though, after he made that comment about Tech, that that Houston is a really long way away from Lubbock.
When we come back,